Hey everybody, this is Kennedy Hawk from the MCM crew, and we are back with Modular Monday number 2. This time we're going to be looking at Goblin Gimmicks in honor of Halloween. So Goblin Gimmicks is one of the 4 modular sets from the Green Goblin scenario pack. It's often considered the easiest from that pack, but also packs a pretty big punch with some of its cards. Whether you want to allow Thanos to chill on a Goblin Glider or throw pumpkin bombs all over on Halloween, this is the mod for you. Let's see if this is a trick or a treat of a mod, and go through the cards one by one and talk about some different strategies and ways that these can combo with villains or hurt the heroes. So the mod contents, there's 4 cards in this mod and 2 copies of each of those cards. So it's an 8-card modular set, so it's thickening the deck a little bit more than those 6-card mods, but some of these cards are really nasty boost cards. Looking right here, we've got 2 3-boost icon cards and 2 2-boost icon cards, and both of them add damage to the game. So Goblin Glider is an attachment that gives the attached character +1 attack, attached to the enemy with the highest printed hit points, and without another Goblin Glider attached. If you cannot, this card gains Surge. So it's never going to be a dud. It's most likely going to attach to the villain, and if you draw a second one, it might attach to a minion as well. Or in those multi villain games, this could attach to 2 different villains, which could be really annoying. Luckily, the hero action is spend 2 energy resources to discard this card. So while most of these require either an exhaustion and spending 2 resources, the attachments in the Green Goblin set only require 2 resources and no exhaustion. So they're a little bit easier to remove. This card can be a lot worse as a boost card than it can as a attachment on the villain. A lot of times if this attaches to the villain, you can get rid of it before it does extra damage to you. But really, if you can get rid of it before it does 3 extra damage to you, it's probably already been easier to handle as a encounter card rather than a boost card. The second card that also kind of does damage is Pumpkin Bombs. It doesn't add anything to the villain's attack per se, but it attaches to the villain and has a weapon trait. Force response, after the villain attacks you, discard Pumpkin Bombs and take 2 indirect damage, so that can be spread amongst you and your allies. 2 indirect damage isn't a ton, but it is 2 damage you weren't planning to take before. A lot of times you're just going to dump this onto your allies. That's your strategy for countering Pumpkin Bombs. Luckily, when Pumpkin Bombs triggers, it discards itself. So hero action, spend 2 fist resources to discard this card. You could just spend those on a first aid later and counteract whatever indirect damage happened, or dump it onto an ally and not even worry about it. So I tend to not pay to discard Pumpkin Bombs and just let them go off unless they're going to kill me. But I tend to pay to get rid of the Goblin Glider, because letting the villain have +1 attack, that's almost progressing a villain stage for some of these villains. So I think it's worth it to get rid of that card. That being said, right here you've got 10 boost icons among 4 cards. A lot of scenarios don't have a ton of 3 boost icon cards, so adding 2 to the villain deck can be really, really nasty. If you are going to spend the resources to get rid of these, it's also going to slow your game down, letting the villain have a longer game and more chances to surge into a victory. So its overarching theme is kind of slowing the heroes down. Alright, let's look at the rest of the mod. We've got 2 copies of Intimidation. It's a treachery card. When revealed, choose to either spend 2 resources of any type, or give the villain 1 face-down boost card. I almost always spend the 2 resources of any type, because it doesn't matter what type they are, I just pitch the 2 worst cards in my hand to avoid a boost card. This isn't always the right answer, right? A lot of villains have really low boost icons in their cards, and maybe you can handle that. So I'd encourage people to think about whether or not they can handle what happens with this extra boost card. If you know you're going to end in hero form, and you're going to draw into a backflip, or you have a lot of defense, maybe you can give them the extra boost card. Or if you know you're going to end in alter ego form, and you can get the main scheme down to 0, and you know it's impossible for them to threat out, then it's probably okay. This is a card that's much worse as a boost card. So as a boost card, it's got 1 boost icon and the ability, give the villain 1 additional boost card. So we've got 2 more cards that only provide 1 boost icon, but they also chain into another card. So there's a good chance that they're going to chain into a 1, 2, or 3 icon card. So this could become 4 boost icons. Now, it's not always going to do that, but it can be really annoying. So I would say there's 4 cards that for sure are boosting for 2 or more. There's 2 more cards that are probably boosting for 2 or more. So they've got to give us something that's kind of like a relief. And they give us that in Regenerative Healing. When revealed, the villain heals X damage, where X is equal to double the villain's stage number. If no damage was healed this way, this card gains Surge. Not a big deal. I mean, it slows you down, right? But most hero big attacks are going to do 6 damage, so even in expert mode on villain stage 3, this is healing for 6 damage at most, so it's not like the end of the world. Its boost ability is the villain only heals 2 damage, so it is slowing the heroes down. It's trying to take your pace and make it so that the villain gets a chance to catch back up to you and gets this sigh of relief, but this is the card you probably don't mind seeing. That being said, one trick when you're going against Goblin Gimmicks is never leave the villain at full health. When you leave the villain at full health, you have a chance to make this just surge to the next card. And you'd much rather have them heal 1 point of damage. So get like a dink 1 point of damage, 2 points of damage onto the villain, so that when you draw regenerative healing, it doesn't surge, and it gives you a whole turn of, wow, that treachery phase was not so bad. So I definitely recommend when playing against this set, if you haven't drawn these yet, dealing 1 or 2 points of damage to the villain. It kind of stinks if he draws it as a boost then, but at the end of the day, it's better that he drew that as a boost, or it's better that you didn't surge into something much worse like Charge or Goblin Glider. So I encourage you to avoid the surge on Regenerative Healing. So the overview, again, there were 8 cards, 4 boost abilities, so Target Acquired is going to be pretty good for canceling some of those. Only one of those boost abilities is probably worth canceling. The heal 2 points you probably don't care about. There's 12 boost icons amongst these 8 cards. So there were 2 3s, 2 2s, 2 1s, and the 1s also provided an additional boost card. So that's about 1.5 boost icons per card, which is pretty high, honestly. And you can imagine when combining this with characters, right? Like Claw's initial setup only has 2 3 icon cards. So you've now made that 4 icon cards, and he's drawing 2 per phase. So it could be really nasty. The set's a bit scattered. It's not like all damage or all stalling or all resource drain. Cards 1 through 4 pump out damage unless they stall your game by making you spend money to get rid of them. Cards 5 through 6 could pump out damage because they could give that extra boost card, or you can spend the money. So those cards are kind of succinct. And then cards 7 through 8 is this stalling villain healing thing that really just acts as like a release mechanism for the heroes. Again, remember there's those 2 3 boost icon cards and 2 2 boost icon cards. So you're going to see really big boosts when you play Goblin Gimmicks. It's one of the reasons I love to play Claw with Goblin Gimmicks, because he boosts so many cards, you're bound to see one eventually. It works really well when the villain already has a lot of items to force you to spend to remove. So if you're playing against Crossbones and he's got 5 weapons out there and you draw a Goblin Glider, well, now you've got to decide what's the worst weapon to discard, or do I discard 3 of these weapons and just pitch my whole hand? And that can be really devastating to the heroes. So just some synergy. I've mentioned this a couple times. Obviously for theme, this is going to work really well with Green Goblin, either Risky Business or Mutagen Formula. It's the recommended mod. You should expect that it's going to work well. With Rhino, it can be really funny, because Rhino can be throwing pumpkin bombs while riding on a Goblin Glider and intimidating you, and that's just Spidey villain greatness. Against Claw, you get all those boost abilities, so I think this can be really fun against Claw, since he gets extra boost cards, or even like with Thanos, how he gets the extra boost cards occasionally. This could be really, really fun. And then I thought that this would be really fun with Crossbones, because he's already got Weapon Master sort of locked in as one of his 3 mods, or you could lock it in as one of his 3 mods. So you can chain into these Goblin, or these Pumpkin Bombs, and you're going to have a ton of weapons that are causing piercing and all sorts of stuff on Crossbones. Often this is ideal as an extra mod. I know in the rulebook it says you can include more mods than the recommended mod, but it's going to dilute the deck. And this will still dilute the deck in the Treachery revealing phase or the encounter card revealing phase, because you'll get things like Regenerative Healing that don't affect you now but might hurt you later. But having all those extra high boost icon cards can really provide big boons to some of the villains. So if you're playing against Claw, for example, or Drang, you could include a minion heavy mod like Band of Badoon or Masters of Evil, and Goblin Gimmicks as extra things to slow the villain or slow the hero down and sort of pump up the villain's damage. If you want extra spice with this mod, what I've been doing recently for my Halloween games, or my setup for my Halloween games, is I've been running this as a 6-card module, and I've just been leaving off Regenerative Healing. It makes the module insanely hard, because there are no 0 boost icon cards being added to the deck. Almost all of them are 2+ or 1 plus a boost card, so it can be really, really tough, even though it's a minionless mod, which is pretty exciting for a modular set. Usually the tougher mods and the more engaging mods are the ones with minions, but this one can be right there up there with it. So that was our overview of the mod. Again, we went over some strategies to sort of counteract these cards. Bring allies for Pumpkin Bombs so you can dump the indirect damage there. Spend your energy to get rid of Goblin Glider. Probably spend the resources to avoid Intimidation, but think about whether or not you can handle that extra boost card, or if you run things like Preemptive Strike, then you know you're going to be able to counter that boost card. And for Regenerative Healing, make sure you ping the villain with 1 point of damage so that they don't get the surge off that card, and it gives you this break as a hero. So that was today's Modular Monday. We'll continue these every Monday on the MCM YouTube channel. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe, like the video, tell your friends, and we will be back next week with another Modular Monday. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great day.